talking for the last 2 minutes thinking that everybody was on this conversation with us and realized we had not started the meeting. So if you can hear us, please just drop in the chat. Let us know where you're located in the US. Let us know that we can actually engage with you. Oh, there we go. Now we see people. We were talking for 2 minutes saying maybe the chat is broken, and it was that the meeting had not have actually started. So even though we're tech experts, we're sometimes not, we're tech incompetent at times. Salt Lake, American Fork, Orem. We've got a lot of people here in our backyard in Utah, San Diego, Vegas, Daybreak. Awesome. Albany, New York. Wonderful. Cool. Well, today's gonna be a fun conversation. And that's kind of what I want to frame this as, is like, I actually want this to be just more of a relaxed experience. You're going to get a ton of value out of this. If you've been in previous months, we do this every month. It's a different topic every month. How do you use AI in different facets of life or business? I do want to drop and let you know that we're going to do a really cool session next month around goal setting, right? The reality is that all the results you're going to get in Q1 of next year start now, right? So we have to get prepared for what we want to accomplish in 2026. And so next month, we're going to be talking about how do you use AI to actually help you set goals. And the challenges that I've seen in the past, I've had at this point, thousands of interviews with agents and sales individuals. And what I've found is that a lot of people do very good with setting big goals. The challenge is they have no clear plan to get there. And so not only are we going to talk about how to set goals strategically with AI, have it help us with reverse engineering our targets, but also creating a clear map or a plan, an action plan. As Tony Robbins calls it, the map is a massive action plan. How do we get there? And so we'll be talking about that next month, and we'll drop the link for that so that you guys can register for next month's session. But again, I want to call this a conversation, right? And Cam, feel free to chime in. I want to introduce you because you're gonna be a familiar face on these events every so often, and you've become not only a great friend over the years because we've been connected through this office, but also I see you as kind of a right-hand user of AI, and you are a champion of thinking strategically about how can we get the most or best results out of artificial intelligence today. And so I want to actually just take a second for you to introduce yourself. What's your backstory? You've been in the business for, over a decade. How did you start? And then also, what is this AI conversation? Why is it so relevant to you today?
Yeah. Well, I think we get along, Shoney, because our nerd levels match. So yeah, Cameron Wilson, I got started in real estate about 12 years ago. I got hired on as an admin to a partnership. There was two agents wanting to go grow a team. The red sign team is what they had. I always saw myself as the COO. Maybe they hired me as an assistant. I'm not sure. But we went out and built what is one of the biggest teams here in Utah. And so now it's like 25 agents, whole admin staff, everything like that. A few years back, I was looking at how else can I grow, and I got into coaching. So as a MAPS coach for Keller Williams for a while. And then you convinced me to come be productivity coach and coach agents here in the market center. So I've been doing that for about a year and a half now. And gosh, I'm highest level nerd about everything AI. It like speaks my love language. And I think it's really because at heart, I'm a systems builder. And what systems are is you take a process and you figure out like, what are the steps to do that? And then how do you do it the most efficiently? Like there was a study way back, like, I don't know, probably 200 years ago about someone laying bricks, and they figured out the fastest bricklayers were the ones that did the least amount of motions. Like you don't lift it and then scoop and then do, I don't know how to lay bricks, but the ones that did it in the least amount of motions were the most efficient. And AI is really the least amount of motion for a lot of our tasks. So a lot of the time it's like taking like a big process or a big system and breaking it down into the smallest units, almost like the assembly line for Ford. Henry Ford went from everyone had to be a generalist, know how to build everything on a car. It would take one person months to build. And he said, nope, let's build a factory. You're going to get so good at one thing. And that's kind of what AI has been for me. It's like, it can be my expert in one thing, and then I can move on, use another tool, use another AI, use another prompt, and it completes my whole process. So love it.
I think that's a great kind of perspective to have, is that speed is one of the most dangerous skill sets to develop in the real estate business or just in business in general. If you are fast at being able to execute things compared to other people in your space, you have a strategic edge or strategic advantage. And so I think this whole conversation around AI is how do we use it in different facets? I'm going to talk about today how I think that the greatest skill set to uncover in this time is actually developing the art of knowing the many different ways or the use cases of AI. It's actually about the creativity side. So saying, well, how can I use it for my health? How can I use it for my real estate investing, which is what we're going to be talking about today? How can I use it for lead generation? It's actually getting very curious in coming up with as many different strategies that you can use it in today. And I think that is going to be the strategic edge, not necessarily how you prompt. A lot of people, if you go online and you look at what they talk about how important prompting is, I actually don't think that prompting is going to be super important in the future, because AI is going to get so smart where if you just tell it what your goal is, it's going to know what the perfect prompt should be. Right. And so I think that the skill set is actually saying, what do I want to use it for? And what are the various ways that I can document in my life, in my business, that I can go ahead and bring these different tools in. And Cam, as you talked about as well, knowing that different tools provide a different level of outcome and have basically, supercharged skill sets in one lane. And so we have to be aware of what tool is best in this specific use case that I'm trying to achieve. And just being aware of all the tools that are out there. Now, unfortunately, the reality is that there's so many AI platforms that are out there. So you do have to cut out the noise, and you don't want to try and adopt everything. You want to say, what's most important to me? What are the top 4, 5, 6, 7 tools that I need to be a part of my tech stack? So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Just give me a little yes in the chat. Let me know that you can see the slides as they pop up. Are those showing up for you all? Awesome. Thanks, Jimmy. So today we're going to be talking about this idea of how do you double the value with AI? Specifically, how do you use AI to build your portfolio as an agent investor? And how do you use it to help your clients build their portfolio? How do you help clients scale their portfolio through using AI? And so as we go through these pieces, if you have questions, you have ideas that you want to chime in, please throw those in the chat. And please throw those in the chat and we will get to them. The purpose of this conversation today is of these masterminds as a whole. And I have to give the disclaimer. I wish I had a little note on here, but Cam and I, we're not, investment advisors. We're not a CPA, any of that stuff. We're not an attorney. So any of the stuff that we say is from our own practice, but you want to do your own due diligence, right? So, so take that with a grain of salt, everything that we say, but we want to go through some tactical strategies today and show you exactly how you can utilize AI more effectively when you are in the investment space. And also we're going to be talking about how these monthly masterminds are meant to just spark some ideas, again, to give you additional ways to dive into using AI. And this is why today's specific conversation matters. If you've read the book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, if you've read that, drop that in the chat, let me know. But that book is phenomenal at helping us to understand how to become financially free. And one of the principles that Robert Kiyosaki talks about in that book is this cash flow quadrant. Okay. And so in this idea, I'm going to just kind of go through this. Most people start in an employed state. They're trading their time for money. Even if you can think back, if you've been in the real estate space, you've been 1099 for many years now, think back to your first job, right? If you, for me, it was working at McDonald's. Cam, do you want to guess what I was earning per hour, what McDonald's was paying me when I first started?
I remember because my first job, I earned 30 cents more than you, I think. What were you, 50?
You had a huge raise. Yeah, 655.
Yeah. Well, I was a lifeguard. I had to take training that I paid for to become a lifeguard, and I made 683.
See, so I was making people happy with Happy Meals. You were actually saving lives, and it was only a 30 cents difference.
I jumped in the pool one time though, so I don't know how many people I actually saved.
Yeah. And that's the funny thing about this is like everybody kind of starts in the same place, right? You trade your time for money. And at the reality is somebody else is deciding what an hour of your life is worth. And at some point, some people get a little crazy and they say, I want to have more control. I want to have more control over my time. I also want to have more control over my income. I'm going to be self-employed, right? And so they say, I'm going to get into sales. I'm going to get into real estate. I'm going to open up my own business. There's many different industries that are self-employed. Real estate happens to be in that quadrant. And the reality is you actually didn't get out of the race, right? You don't truly have a business. You just own the job, right? So yes, you have a little bit more flexibility over your schedule, but the reality is the income is also can be uncertain, right? Unless you have a system to get sales and really build your business. And then some people say, you know what? Every year I am starting from zero, right? So I have to go out and build my business from scratch every single year. I'm kind of tired of that. I want to build systems that build more predictable results. And therefore they transition into this business ownership side, which is in the top right corner. And that's where you might have either tools, systems, or people, team members that you're bringing in to not only help you increase your income, but also you're getting your time back, right? So you have a system that's working for you. And in the last quadrant, which is where we're going to heavily focus on today, is being an investor. That the only path that I've found that is truly predictable to creating passive income, long-term wealth is if you choose to be an investor. Okay. You can make a ton of money as a business owner and still end up broke if you're not using that money to purposefully invest and build your long-term wealth. And so, Cam, anything that you want to say on this idea as we move through this on why this topic is so just top of mind and important?
Um, really, every time I look at this, I'm reminded that you can live in multiple quadrants. And the
Mhm.
easiest one to kind of dabble in is that investor. I mean, you might not have enough money to make complete passive income to cover really any expenses, but there's nothing to stop you from doing just a little bit. And
Totally. Yeah.
you want to be self-employed, business owner, whatever, but let's live a little bit in the investor until all of a sudden one day you look up and you think, oh, I'm only living in the investor. I don't have to do anything else.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the truth too, is that this is not an overnight process for anybody, right? That uh, it does start with a small habit or routine of saying, if I make $1, I don't truly have $1 to spend, right? I have whatever portion for taxes. I have some living expenses, but what portion am I going to purposely set aside for the investment side of my world? Because even if we're making, let's call it $1,000, right? Just for simple math a month, if you're not at $1,000 putting away $10 or $100 to the investment side of your world, you're probably not going to do it when you get to higher levels of income. Because what unfortunately happens is people have this lifestyle creep that sets in. As their income goes up, their expenses also follow. And so what we want to do is get into this habit. If you're not an investor yet, and we're going to share some stuff for those who are already investors and you really want to supercharge this, but it all starts with having this mindset of I'm going to see myself as an investor. And this idea that why this conversation today specifically matters is the more fluent you become with the investment language, the more credible that you'll become with clients who want financial freedom. Back in 2021, so there's a one shift for my business. So 2021, I sold 14 units. The second year, 2022, I sold 36 units. The shift was that I started to focus on clients who were investors. And I started to do, which we'll talk a little bit more around the strategy. I started to do investment seminars once per quarter. So I would get 15 to 30 people in the room at my office. And I would just say, hey, I just want to teach people and show them how to buy rental properties. And you'd be surprised. Let me just ask you to think through this. If you call 500 people in your database or in your phone book and you say, do you need to buy or sell a home this year? The NAR has already done stats on this, that it's somewhere in the ballpark of 6 to 8%, somewhere in that ballpark of people that actually need to move in a given year because of death, divorce, deployment, diapers, any of these, reasons that cause people to make a transition. And if you actually did the same thing and you called 500 people in your database and you asked the question of, have you ever thought about building passive income or owning real estate as an asset? If you ask that question, I would tell you from experience, you're going to get far more. Do you think in the chat, do you think you're going to get more than 6 to 8% of people saying, yes, I would love passive income, or yes, I would love financial freedom, or yes, I thought about investing in real estate. I just don't know how. Right. And so I started to make that, I just asked the question and then I say, well, that's actually why I'm doing this little, event where I'm just teaching people the playbook to buying properties. I don't know if this is for you, but I'd love for you to come if it fits your schedule. And I would send them the invitation to this event. And that took me from 14 units to almost 40 units within a year by just inviting people to learn about how to buy properties. Because when a first-time home buyer buys a home, how likely are they to buy another home within the next month or two? Very unlikely, right? Whereas with an investor, I had one of my investors call that year, and this is maybe August timeline, September timeline, and he says, hey, I just talked with my CPA. We're doing some planning for my taxes next year. He said I have to spend $1 million in real estate by the end of the year. Can you help? And we bought him 5 properties between that timeline and the end of the year. So with investors, you can get repeat buyers, right? You have people who strategically, they need to buy multiple properties, and that allows you to tap into additional transactions. So I'm not saying that you should only focus just on investors. I'm just saying if you haven't had that a focus of your business yet, it could be the key to unlocking additional income by selling clients who are investors. The transaction experience is very different as well. When it's not an emotional buy-in for them, it is a numbers game. They say, do the numbers make sense? Let's put in an offer. And so you have a very different experience as an agent working with investors. So this system is specifically about leverage. And can you just let me know in the chat, is the screen pretty clear for you guys? The screen share on my end, it looks a little funky, but I want to make sure that you guys are seeing everything loud and clear. Awesome. Thank you.
Shoney, can I mention one more thing about working with investors
Yeah.
before we dive in? There's good and bad about this, but they are not loyal like your clients might be, right? If you were not able to find $1 million worth of good deals for this investor, he probably would have started to call other people.
Yeah.
But what that means is if someone is like, oh, I already have an agent that helps me with investments, all you have to do is find them the deal and you will get that deal. You will be able to steal an investor away, even if they've had a 20, 30-year run with one specific agent. So finding the deal wins for an investor.
Yeah, that's a great point. And it's pointing out that like you have to get clear about what is your value proposition to a seller, to a buyer, to an investor. Those are all different, right? And so you might have to spend some time getting clarity around that. You can still build an immense amount of loyalty with those clients, but you have to be very strategic in the approach for investors. And so not only is it about finding the deal, but what is their experience all the way through and post close, right? What is your systems to make sure that they have the most phenomenal experience possible? This part, and then we're going to get into some demos, some actual strategies that you can deploy. But I think it all starts with you adopting the mindset of an investor. I want to be clear here. You do not have to own rental properties yet to start helping clients who are investors, but you do have to know how to speak their language. Okay. And so we've talked about this in the business setting, and I'm going to relate this more to the investment side of the world right now. But investing in wealth building is a sport. And all sports have 3 things. They have a language, they have rules, and they have a way to keep score or a scoreboard, right? And just imagine if you were to show up to the Super Bowl and they unplug the scoreboard and they say, you know, for this game, we're going to just have fun. We're not going to keep score today, right? How fun do you think fans would actually have at the Super Bowl? People would say, no. We need the scoreboard. We need to know who wins and who loses this game. And that's where we're going to get into how do you analyze properties, right? That's the scoreboard, is how do you tell if a deal is a winner or a loser, but also the language, right? Do you know what a ROI means or a cap rate, or do you know what a LOI is, a letter of intent? All of these things, real estate investing has a certain language that you need to be aware of. And it also has rules. If you make a mistake, you pay a dumb tax, is what Keith Cunningham calls it, right? So the reality is that you as an agent, once you want to help clients avoid paying dumb taxes. And I'm not talking about actual taxes. I'm saying mistakes in their investment journey, right? So buying the wrong property in the wrong location could end up with a massive amount of pain for that client over time, right? In different ways. And so what we have to do is study the language. We have to know the rules, and then we have to have a way of keeping score and showing clients that we know how to read the scoreboard. Does this idea make sense? Is this clear? And so the one thing that I would lean into as a little recommendation is this book. It's called The Millionaire Real Estate Investor. This is where my journey started back in 2015 timeline. I was not with Keller Williams. I was not in real estate. I just wanted to be an investor. So I picked up this book, and this book shows the playbook to buying rental properties. It actually shows Gary Keller, the way that he wrote this book is he went and interviewed multiple agents that were making more than $1 million a year in cash flow. Now, that's not going to be everybody's goal, right? $1 million a year in cash flow from rental properties is an immense amount of, an immense achievement. But most of your clients' goals fit within that. Some people are like, I just want 50,000 a year or 10,000 a year passively. Great. This playbook will show you how to help them get there. So that's where I would say study that language through this book. It shows you how to keep score. It shows you the rules to real estate investing, how you win and lose the game. So that's one book that I'd highly recommend you dive into to become an investor first mindset or to upgrade your skill set. If you are already investing in properties, this can also help you to accelerate or build your portfolio. For me, this helped me go from 2016 to 2019. My wife and I bought 9 single family homes. We had 5 here in Utah and then 4 in Alabama from using the playbook in this book. And it wasn't until the end of 2019 that I decided to get my real estate license. But this book was that blueprint that I used personally. And this is a gift that you can also give to clients. So at every closing, if it's just a buyer buying their own home, their own personal property, personal residence, this is a book that I gift them because in it, it talks about, I won't go too much further into this, but it talks about the core 4, the people you need to have on your team as a real estate investor, right? Having a property management team, having a contractor, people who can make repairs, having an attorney, and then also having a real estate agent. It plants the seed that a real estate agent who understands the investment world is an important part of your team. And so this book will help your clients realize that you are the key to helping them grow their portfolio. So enough on that. Let's actually dive in, Cam, to some of the strategies. Let's actually start with a pretty crazy one. Let's talk about Comet and Atlas.
Yes, this is like new, like Atlas.
Yep.
You guys probably don't even know what this is because it was announced on Tuesday. If you told people like, oh yeah, I use Atlas, they would be like, what? I don't even know what you're talking about. ChatGPT released this. Let me just share my screen. I'm just going to share it. How about that?
So as he's throwing this up, Comet is by Perplexity. It came out maybe 2-3 months ago. They were doing, only an invite only. So a certain amount of people had access to it, or people who were on the pro plan, the $20 a month. So not everybody got instant access to Comet. If I understand correctly, I think Atlas rolled out to everybody, right? That's on the
plan. Yeah. As long as you're paying, you get Atlas. So what this is, so you're looking at my browser, right? As you'll notice, it looks like I have ChatGPT over on the side here. I can click and I have ChatGPT that I can chat with. It is literally a browser with ChatGPT built as like the core of it. So you can do crazy things with this. Literally, ChatGPT knows what I'm looking at. So for this example, Shoney's like, how can we use this? I'm like, so easy, because I just pulled up a search here in our MLS to figure out what properties are for sale. These are multifamily houses kind of near me that are offering seller financing. Now, this one in Harriman, this is actually like a block away from my in-laws. My father-in-law is retired. He's a handyman type fixer. I'm like, oh, this could be great. So I could do what I used to do is I'd pull this up and I'd start running all of these numbers. I could very much just jump in here and say, will you analyze this for a long-term rental?
Just to make sure, Jana, I see that you said you cannot see Cameron's screen. I can. Can he else see his screen just to make sure? Okay. Angie, you can't see, but everybody else is saying yes. So you might have to click if you're you might have to click on, maybe look at the top of your screen or something. You might have to toggle between our faces and the actual shared screen view. So if you're not seeing it, looks like everybody else is. But yeah, so Kim, you're good to go. But if you're not
Good.
seeing, click on full screens. And then Cam, if you in the top right hand corner, you might be able to click on full screen on your screen.
Change sharing window. No.
I'm gonna actually just drop something in the chat so everybody can see. They can actually do it on their own. So you're good. You're good.
Okay, cool. Okay, well, if you can see my screen, awesome. You can follow along. But you'll notice that it's like I just went to a ChatGPT conversation and gave them this entire MLS printout, and it went through and it just kind of assumed things, right? Here's all of the information it found, and then it said, "Ooh, do you want me to use these things?" Right? This is a ChatGPT conversation. Down payment. What do we want to do? Interest rate, loan, and so yeah, use those defaults. Oh no. So we'll go through and start to analyze this property right for me. Assume that I'm doing that down payment right here. And I have all of these thought out as if I were chatting with ChatGPT. Now, here's where it can get crazy, crazy cool. They have this little plus thing, and you can go to agent mode. And so I could say, can you build me a spreadsheet to run this analysis? That's not how you spell it. And you'll notice that ChatGPT is starting to take control over my browser. It's considering what to do to best do this, and it will take over and start just taking actions in my behalf. It's building out a spreadsheet. I'm already logged into my Google Documents. So it did this.
So Cam, are you saying that you can go grab a Subway sandwich down the road?
I'm literally doing nothing, and it will do all of this for me. Shoney, you actually called me today while I was looking for a buyer. He sent me 12 properties, 21 properties. He favorited 21 properties, but he needs a seller finance property.
Yeah.
And so I went into this and said, hey, which of these are seller finance? And I was on the phone with you chatting, not even watching my screen. And it was doing all of this. And it gave me a report. These were the only two. And then I said, which of these have fences around it? And it did it. So like
Yeah.
it takes control. It's naming this. And this is in my Google Drive.
And it's so that this might be a little hectic or crazy for people who've not used this version, right? Before. So just for clarity,
Yes.
these browsers are built on Google Chrome. So it's called the Chromium browser. But essentially what AI is think of the future in the next 2 to 3 years. This is how we're going to work. Like this is the new version of work where you're going to have AI assistants, or they call them agents, working on your behalf. So you can totally multitask, think through having, Atlas here doing some project for you, and then also having Comment on your other browser doing something completely different. Hey, I have a client event that's coming up in a month. I need to create the Canva marketing content for it. Please go ahead and create that. And so it's going to be so intertwined with our day-to-day like operations. So I just want you to think about, it's so important to just start playing with these tools right now. They're not great. They're not phenomenal out of the box. They're pretty dang good though. But what's going to happen is, AI is going to evolve and get so much better. So in the next 2 to 3 years, like I imagine this is how people are, their workflows could be mainly AI browsers that are doing a lot of the work for you. So that it provides a lot of speed.
Yeah. Well, you'll notice even what I built here, like it's not pretty, it's not nice. I'm not going to send this to a client. I'm not ready, but it has formulas in everything. So I can just go change the few things that are in the formulas, like if I don't want to have a property manager, I can change that right there. And so it built all of this for me. Now, to set this up, by the way, I have done very little on this browser. I've literally logged into Google Drive. In my ChatGPT, I do have it connected. You can do connectors. I don't know if you need to do that or just log in. I'm not sure which has made this work. I logged into my MLS and literally was able to do this with those two things. So it seems so easy. And again, with it being like Chrome, I use the same browser extensions in this browser. So I have like all my passwords saved and everything like that. Now, the other thing that we can do is with this being seller finance, like we're not making money, right? So then I could ask questions, anything that I want. What interest rate that would cause me to be flow positive? And it will go and do math. I can chat with it as much as I want to and analyze this rental. You'll notice that it moved me away from my page. So I can even just click on this and it will open it back up.
Can we test something out too once you're
Yeah. Yeah. What do you
um,
want to say?
this is a question that I think would be cool to see. Somebody said, "Can you have it?" Let me actually throw this question up. So they said, "Can you have it pull all the data into Claude and have it talk with AI?" What might be cool, Cam, is say, "Hey, take this information on the spreadsheet over to Claude and build maybe a client facing deliverable." Right? I'm going to send this report of this property to my client. Can Claude put a little PDF together or something uh, to then take that raw data into a nice deliverable? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Hey, wait. I'm going to do a voice to text. You tell me exactly what you want me to put in it. Ready? Go.
Take this information over to Claude and make a simple but nice deliverable that I can send over to my client about this property.
By the way, what I just used, I don't even know what this is called. What is this called that I just used?
Whisper.
It is, yeah, but oh, Super Whisper. It's free, and it just did that for me. Okay. Oh, it doesn't have the ability.
Let's see. So here's the thing to think about, just so you guys know. Like, these are competitors. So it kind of makes sense for ChatGPT to put these blockers in of saying, like, no, we do not want to engage with, other AI platforms, because it's like Google and Microsoft not playing nice in the sandbox. Even though Claude would be better at this,
Yeah.
task, in my perspective.
Well, and this is what's fun. Like, you can play around. So, like, here's a prompt to build this. Now, I probably didn't tell it very well because I could have said, use this real information. Oh, but here's all of this. Okay, I'll play around with this on the back end. And then we'll see what we can come up with before the end of it.
Awesome. Let's jump into the next little demo here. I'm going to take over screen share. And if you have questions, drop those in the chat. We'll do our best to answering those real time if we can. But okay. Share my entire screen and
There we go.
all right. Are you guys seeing Claude? So that's what's shown for everybody. So perfect. So let me pull up one thing for a second. So I want to get into this idea now of delivering. Not only how do you analyze properties, right? So you can use a browser to do that. You can also have ChatGPT do the analysis, or Perplexity. One of the things that I found as a useful play is actually having, if you do something repeat. So if you're doing property analysis on a consistent basis, you can actually have Claude build you resources. This was from an actual experience where I was analyzing a seller financing deal. And I wanted to be able to communicate to the seller the value of them choosing to do seller financing compared to a traditional sale and what the ROI difference would be. So I'm actually going to show you guys the live chat and conversation that I had with Claude to build this. I basically just went to ChatGPT first and I said, this is what I'm trying to do. I just explained my outcomes, my goals. And I said, will you build a prompt that I can take over to Claude so Claude can create the actual calculator or the deliverable? Now, if you haven't been on these events before, I just want to add this context. We are jumping through multiple different tools, right? Or multiple tools. And the reason why is because they all have different personalities or skill sets. And think about if you're building a team, you're building this awesome, phenomenal, high-powered team of individuals, and you are interviewing people because you want first a CPA that's going to help with, bookkeeping and accounting. And then you also want somebody who's phenomenal with human beings. You want them to be able to go and do your listing presentations and convert the person into a client. And the reality is those are going to be two very different people. The person that loves numbers and spreadsheets versus the person who loves people and is effective at communication and sales, right? So you're not going to put that same person in the same seat. You're going to actually hire two different people to do those two separate jobs. And that's how these AI platforms need to be looked, is that they have different personalities or skill sets. If I tried to give this prompt to ChatGPT, it would not be able to do it. It's not set up this way. Whereas Claude is phenomenal at not only coding, but also building an interactive, let's call it an app or tool right within the Claude context window. So this is the prompt that ChatGPT spit out for me, which is that I wanted two different tabs on this tool to one, see the seller analysis, but then also see the investor side. So I want something to present to the seller and something for me as the investor to be able to analyze the numbers and have this be in one calculator. Because how many of you, if you've done this, please put in the chat, how many of you have jumped onto Google and said, I need a calculator for seller financing or for investment property, deal analysis, whatever it is, where you try to find some tool. Maybe it's not relevant to investing, but you're like, I need to find a spreadsheet to track my real estate transactions or whatever it is, right? And so what's cool with Claude, it interacts the same as ChatGPT. It just has different skill sets. So you can still come in here and ask it to do any prompt that you would ask ChatGPT or Perplexity to do. But in this case, I wanted it to build an interactive calculator. So this is what it created for me. Now, this was version 1. As you can see up here, it shows me the versions. The one that I'm going to show you is the difference between version 1 and 21. So I had to go through 21 different versions to get the exact fit. So there is some iteration process that comes in here where I'm like, I don't like those colors, right? That's not my style. But the initial outline was accurate, right? This is the first version that it spit out for me. The second thing that I realized is that the numbers didn't work, right? Whenever I put numbers in here, nothing changed. And so I said, well, Claude, I don't know if you can do this, but can you make it interactive where it can actually do the math? Like, can you actually make this a true interactive calculator? And it said, heck yes, I can do that. So it basically went through this process. This was about 30 minutes in. So for context, if you're having somebody to build you an app, how much money would that cost and how much time of explaining what you're wanting them to build and then for them to actually develop that? If they're going to develop this website or this tool for you, it would probably take thousands of dollars and lots of hours, right? I did this in 30 minutes. And so as you can come in here and you kind of just see, I'll just click through a few versions. You'll see that by version 7, it had figured out if I put numbers in here, it had figured out how to do the math. Okay. So it was actually fully interactive by that point by version 7, and it can do all the computation and calculations. And by version 21, this is my actual finalized product. Okay. Much more clean aesthetics. And let me actually publish this and take it live so you can see. This is something you can now send to clients. You can build any kind of calculator that you want. You can send it as a link to clients and they can actually engage with it. So let's just analyze the deal. So Cam, maybe help me with—
Wait, Shoney, can I mention something? You'll notice in your top right, you have a button that now says customize.
Yeah.
So if you send this as a link to everyone, we could get on and change the logo, change the colors, change what it says, update anything about it. And we don't have to go through that 30-minute, 21 different versions to get to this.
Exactly. Yep. So crazy. This was basically free. I paid $20 a month, obviously, for Claude, but like compare that to actually having somebody develop this website for me. would have been way much, more costly. So the cool thing with this calculator now is I can say, hey, this deal is a $600,000 purchase price. The equity that the seller has in the deal is, let's say, 450,000. Okay, that's how much equity they have. Their capital gain basis, what did they buy the property at? I'm gonna just say that they bought it at 225. And sorry, let me go up here. You'll see all these numbers changing based off of what I'm putting in this calculator. So they bought the property, and so their capital gains basis, which is that's how you calculate how much they're going to pay in taxes. And this will actually show them roughly, it's not perfect, but it's pretty dang close, of what their capital gains tax is going to be, what they're going to have to write the check to the IRS for when they sell this property. And then I could put in financing terms. What's the down payment? Let's say it's going to be 10%, or let's even put 7%, 5%. Let's do 5%. And we're going to do a 4% interest rate amortized over 30 years with a balloon payment in year 7. So essentially, we're going to amortize it, basically make monthly payments as if it's a 30-year loan. But in year 7, or by that time at least, we are planning to either refinance or pay that property off in some way, right? Or sell it beforehand. And we can choose, do we want to do interest only? And you can see this change where is it? Down here. You can see it changed the monthly payment on the interest only versus the principal and interest. And then how much is our realtor fee? So if they were to sell the property, they need to know what all costs are going to be, right? So their agent fees, their closing costs, their capital gains, all those things need to play a role in this conversation. And then also, what do I think is the investors? You can see the investor inputs. How much is it going to cost to repair this property? What are the monthly rents in that area? Let's say it's going to be $3,250. And annual percentage rate of appreciation, and then the hold period. So what this is doing is it's changing two things. On this sheet, if I change the rents, just so you can see, this is where it's changing all the investment returns for the investor, right? Based off of this tab. Okay. So real time, it's actually changing the seller analysis and the investor analysis all in the same. Is this crazy, or is this just like, just another walk in the park for you all? So like, we need to start thinking about, again, going back to what we started this conversation with, you need to be hyper-focused of thinking about all the different ways, the different use cases that you can use AI in today's world. Those are the agents that are going to exponentially grow their business in the next 3 to 5 years. We've talked about how there's going to be 2 types of agents in the next couple of years. Those who are fully utilizing AI to give the client, the consumer, the best experience possible, and those getting out of business because they can't compete. This is the example, right? This is a seller financing analysis tool, but couldn't you build some other type of visual or interactive tool that's helpful for your first-time homebuyer, or helpful for, your seller, whatever the case may be? In this situation, it's very hard to find a good seller financing tool online. If you guys go do it, just some Google searches, it's not easy to get your hands on something. So that's where you can just have Claude custom build it for you. Okay.
Shoney, I spent, I don't know, probably 3 or 4 hours creating a spreadsheet version, and people liked it so much that I started to sell it on Etsy.
Yeah.
And I still, to this day, make money on Etsy by selling a spreadsheet that does literally this exact same thing. And you know what? It's ugly.
Yep.
And everyone always is like, will you make this tweak for me? And I'm like, no, it doesn't make sense for me to tweak a spreadsheet for you.
And that's the cool thing with Claude, is you can see it wasn't actually a lot of conversations that I had with it. Like, some of it was just, it says, hey, I ran into an error on this, version. And for some reason, the math is not playing. So as you can see here, the calculator is not working. And so it said, do you want me to fix it, basically? And I said, yes, continue. So you don't actually have to be a wizard. You don't do any programming. It's you just saying, hey, I don't like the colors. Please change the colors. Like down here, that's where the last touches I basically put on it were that I wanted, let's see. Yeah, like add, Keller Williams branding, use black and white, red backgrounds, highlights, all that. So I just asked it to change the colors, and it said, okay, I know you don't like this color. So how about this? It's like, oh yeah, that's the style. That's perfect. So just, you want to start playing with these tools and getting familiar with them. And just test this out. Claude, just so you know, if you're not on the $20 per month plan, you will get locked out pretty quick because coding, this is what it's doing behind the scenes, is it's building all of this real time for you. So it's literally coding this. And that takes a lot of kind of, let's call it brain power for it to compute all of this. So it will say, hey, you've reached your limit. Your limit will refresh in 5 hours. And so you might have to just leave this, you could come back at any time and change it. I might have started this maybe 2 months ago. And when I was analyzing this specific property. And so you can come back and start that over again, but just a little awareness that you can run into those limits. I think, Cam, do you pay for the Premier plan, the $100 or whatever?
No, I just downgraded because I need to spend less money on AI.
Yeah.
But I was getting obsessed. I was going every tool they had, going deep and playing around with everything.
Yes.
And I was getting my money's worth, to be honest. But then I thought, could I do less of this and not spend $100 a month?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So true. And that's a great question that somebody put on here. If I'm not great at math, how do I know it works right? So the way that I personally did that is you do have to have some other way. I have always done these on a spreadsheet. So personally, what I did is went and verified that the numbers were accurate by plugging it into my actual spreadsheet. So personally, that's how I did it. But yes, you want to trust but verify this stuff. So great question. I think it was Aaron that wrote that down. Is
Yeah, Shoney,
make sure the math actually does play out correctly.
you could also take this from Claude to ChatGPT and say, if I were going to do a seller finance with this things, what would these kind of numbers be? And if they're different, someone's wrong and you need to go verify. If they're both coming up with the same idea, either they're both wrong in the weird way or it's right.
Great perspective, Cam. So basically just what I would do is do a screenshot here of these things, not tell it, hey, this is what the math was for Claude, because I don't want it to have this judgment, but I would go ahead and screenshot this section and take that over to ChatGPT or whatever tool and say, hey, if these were the inputs, show me what the return on investment would be. And, these key metrics, right?
Wait, Shoney, what tool did you just use there? You were scrolling with a screenshot.
Yeah. It is called, which one is it called? It is, it's called Clean Shot. And you can scroll, also make edits to the screenshots. It is a pretty cool tool. So this is actually an example I screenshotted. I think you guys are still, you're still seeing my screen. Once you screenshot things, you can actually like add stuff and say, hey, I want to block out my client's information here or my information. You can do a lot with this tool, but it's, if you do a lot of screenshots, it's helpful. You can make them look pretty and all that before sending them to clients. But yeah, the tool is called Clean Shot. So, all right. Before we run out of time, let's jump into some other strategies, some other things. Cam, I want to talk about client value. How do you attract clients that are investors? And I'm actually going to still use a couple of my favorite tools, Claude, but also Perplexity for this conversation, and Gamma. We've gone through a few of these. Don't feel like this is getting a little too crazy, but we talked about how the power of these AI tools come from you stacking them together. When you actually say, well, how can I put my dream team together in the same room and have them accomplish a specific task, you get a far better outcome. And so we're actually going to start with this. I'm going to show my raw notes for a second because I do need to copy some stuff so you guys can see this process. So I pre-did this and just put together, let's think through, how do you attract investors? Well, start putting stuff that's attractive to investors out in the marketplace. Meaning if you offered that seller financing tool in your email newsletter and you said, hey, if you'd like that, just send me an email or click here and get access, whatever the case may be. Or you put something on Facebook saying your first time investor's guide. If you've thought about building passive income through real estate investing, here's a little playbook that I've put together. It's free to download. The only thing that you want to do is be able to tell who downloaded it, who took advantage of it. Because the question, let me see if we're all following along here. If somebody downloads your first time investor's guide, what does that tell you that they're interested in? Like they're basically raising their hand and saying, I want to invest at some stage, right? Or maybe I'm already an investor. So now you can call that person and say, hey, thanks so much for downloading that guide or that playbook. I'm just curious, Do you already have some rental properties, or is that a journey that you're kind of just planning on starting? And find out where they're at in their stage. So we're actually going to build that right now together. So the first step that I personally would take is doing some research within Perplexity. Perplexity is the best tool in my world for research. Now, if you are not familiar with this, most tools, Claude, Perplexity, and ChatGPT, all have this deep research function where you can say, I want you to spend a good amount of time really doing quality work on the research phase. So in this case, as you can see, on Perplexity, it's going to take roughly 2 to 3 minutes. Sometimes it will come back a lot faster than that. Or I can skip to the remaining steps and go right into, hey, just give me what you found so far. But I want it to take its time when I'm doing research on data. And as you can see, the sources count is just continuing to go up. So it's looking at this case, it's just read 57 websites, which is wild to think about how quick and fast these tools can operate. It's now gone through 77 different sources, and it's putting together basically a playbook, which let me just read this prompt. Research current real estate investing data for Utah County. You want to pick your area, wherever you're at, to support first-time investors guide. I'm going to share all these prompts. You don't need to shot them. Excuse me. I am going to send out the recap, and it's going to include all of this. I'll even include the seller financing calculator that I was showing. But basically summarize reliable, up-to-date figures and data, market context that would help a first-time investor or house hacker make informed, realistic decisions. So that's basically the topic that I'm giving it, and I gave it some additional context. Now, here's what it threw back at us. And it went through 127 sources, 127 websites that it just read. And you can see which, you can click on the sources to find all of them. That's why I like Perplexity. But now I've got this playbook that it's building for me with all of these different stats and figures. Okay. Now, I'm going to pull up my window again, and I'm going to take this prompt now for Claude. Now, just for those who've been with us on some of these chats in the past or on these events, who do you think I had write the prompt? Let's just see if you're following along with this. Yes, I am. ChatGPT is basically my business strategist. So I explain to that partner what I'm trying to accomplish, and I say, please build a prompt for Perplexity or Claude. This is what I'm trying to achieve. And it will go to town on building that prompt for me. So I do not need to be a master prompter. I need to be a master of thinking what my end goal is and explaining that to ChatGPT. So in this case, I'm going to take all the data. As you can see, there's a placeholder here. I'm going to take all the data from Perplexity, paste it in. Now, because it was so much data, it put it in here as a TXT file, which is fine. And I'm going to go ahead and just say create. And now what Claude's going to do is take the data. It's also going to take this massive prompt of building for my client building for my clients a first-time investor's guide. This is going to be the playbook that I'm now going to be able to use for years to come to show clients how they can start building wealth through owning real estate. Now, this is going to build this PDF, and I want to see if there's any questions that we have so far in the chat.
Shoney, I want to talk about something too that kind of jumping ahead a couple steps where I could see this going wrong for people. I heard this described as 20-60-20, right? You need to start out and do 20% of the thinking of what you want, what you're trying to accomplish. Maybe this is a conversation. Like all the time I put ChatGPT on, I call it coach mode, where I just chat with it back and forth and get a good idea. So 20% is you trying to figure out what you're doing. Then this is the 60% of AI, where you let AI do the research, you let AI write it. If I know where you're going, AI is going to build the presentation, the packet, everything, the deliverables. But then you're not done because you have that last 20%.
Yes. Yes. So true. Yeah, you have to go through and tweak it and put your own personal experiences or tweaks and adjustments on everything, right? So do not just copy, paste, send, copy, paste, edit, and then or edit or adjust and then send, right? And then ship it. I just want to point out with this why I use for Claude for things like this instead of ChatGPT. Look at how long this playbook is. ChatGPT is terrible at long form content. Okay. It is very good at summarization. And so when you try to build anything that's really high quality long form, it loses its what's called context window. And so for me, I always go to Claude. In this case, it's still going when we're a couple minutes in, and it's building literally a thorough deep dive playbook that somebody is so valuable. The way I prompted ChatGPT is that this playbook needs to be so valuable a client would pay for it. Even though I'm going to give it for free, I want them to read it as if they said, if I paid $50 for this, this helped me be a better real estate investor, or whatever the playbook is. First time home buyer's guide, 7 steps to selling your home in 90 days, whatever the creation is that you're building. But you want to get very purposeful around building lead magnets that get the right kind of clients into your space. I won't do this one just for the sake of time, but the other one that I was going to show you, which is going to be in the recap notes so you can do it on your own, is taking a prompt over to Perplexity for research for market discovery. What cities should we buy properties in? But then also, then you have to take that data and kind of condense it, because you don't want all of that data to be in the playbook that you're giving to your clients. You want it to be simplified. So there's a little bridge prompt here. And then the last one is if you're going to do a seminar. So while Claude is finishing up this playbook for us, I'm going to go over here back to the slides and just do a little reminder from last session. Last month, if you weren't with us, we talked about lead generation in the age of AI. And we talked about how important it is to spend your time in this influential zone, right? The handwritten notes, the phone calls, the events and seminars, the face-to-face, that's where you move the needle in your real estate business. And what we talked about is how it is so important to get face-to-face with people. And one of those great ways to do that is events and seminars. And so if you're willing to do a first-time homebuyers seminar, or a first-time investors seminar, or scaling your portfolio seminar, whatever the case may be, you're going to get people in the room. So the way that I personally did it is I'd have a lender pay for dinner. I'd make it a nice event, and I'd have anywhere from 15 to 30 people show up in person. And then I'd also allow people to jump on Zoom if they couldn't make it in person. And from that, about 25 to 26 of my closings that year came from events and seminars. Okay. And so this is a great playbook to run. But if you're like, hey, I don't have the slides, I don't have the content, well, that's where AI can create that for you. So this is what that prompt will do. Let me pull this back up for us. Is this will build out the slides for whatever, in this case, an investor seminar. And it's pulling from the book of the Millionaire Real Estate Investor, right? And you can change this as you like, enter in your name. But for me, this is how I wanted it to be structured. It has guardrails in here, deliverables. And for this, I would say, you know what, let's actually condense this. Let's just do 15 to 20 slides worth of content so that Claude doesn't go too crazy on this, and have it build it out. Okay. And so that's one prompt I would encourage you guys to play with and just test out. But here's the playbook, all finished and done. So the first time investor's guide, that probably took, 3 to 4 minutes for it to build this, because it was very in-depth and long form. I'm going to copy this and take it over to another tool called Gamma, which is how I build the actual visual content for clients. And I'm going to just paste that in. Okay. And so this is a very long document. I'm going to do summarize just because it is long. Otherwise, I would, just for the sake of this time, if this was a real setting, I would actually put this in the Google Doc first, personally, and I would go trim. I would cut all the stuff that I do not want to be in there. I would condense that playbook first before putting it into Gamma. But for the sake of time, I'm going to have Gamma do that for me, is just to summarize this. And I'm going to say that I want it to be concise, condense, and I'm going to just pick my theme. And what this tool is going to do is you can choose how many pages you want it. I want this to be a 15-page playbook for my clients. And then I can hit generate. And you can customize the colors, the themes, everything like that in Gamma. You can put your logo in there so your brokerage logo always shows up. For this one, I didn't, because this is just one of my pre-made templates. But if it were client-facing, I would make sure that the logo that pops up here is your personal logo, and it will print it on all the material. But what Gamma is going to do is go through and build out this deliverable for my clients. So in this case, if Utah County is the area that I'm really focused on helping clients buy investment properties in, or maybe I do one that's for Utah County, one for Salt Lake County, and I say what city specifically they should be looking at, then Gamma will come in and just make it look like a really nice deliverable that clients think I spent either a lot of time on or paid a lot of money for somebody else to create. And really, I just had AI do this for me in a couple of minutes. Okay, so in about a 30-minute working session, you can build some really high-powered deliverables that now become lead magnets to generate more business.
Shoney, my very favorite thing about this is this speaks to the personality type, like that C type personality in the disc, where they love details and information. Most real estate agents that are successful are not C personalities. Those are the brokers. And so you typically get Ds, which are just go and do, or the I, the influential. And this speaks to a whole different set of people. So for a normal real estate agent to put something like this together, they're not. It's not going to be good. Yet it's speaking the language to so many people out there. And so you don't have to speak your language and only find people that speak your language, work how you want to work. You can customize you to them through AI.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. And that's where it's like, Cam, we even talked about this. You can build stuff that is specific to your clients, right? So, like, if you're doing a listing presentation for James Thompson, let's say, is the client with Gamma, and I can't recall, Cam, what you said. I think it was Claude.
Claude Skills is their new thing that it's a little bit harder to build than this Gamma. So do use Gamma.
Yeah. So with Gamma, you can do this remix a template. So basically what you can do is come in here and build like my listing presentation. This just launched like 2 days ago. So I have not actually used this. It's brand new, but I can go ahead and add like my listing presentation, or in this case, my first time investor's guide. And then what I can do is customize it for every single client. So if I'm going on a listing presentation, I can say, I need to update this for Susie so-and-so now, right, is the next client that I'm doing this presentation to. And I need you to change these, benchmarks or these, whatever the case may be for this specific client. So this is one thing to just be aware of, start playing with. I would love to see some use cases in the school community. For those who are not a part of it, I'll actually pull that up for you all right now, so you have access to this. This is just a free network that we've put together where there's a lot of agents who are using AI. They're focused on strategically using artificial intelligence to grow their business, to impact their life. And so this is completely free, but we just, people drop in here, any of their best practices. We put all the recordings for these sessions in here. If you have not watched the Wealth Mastermind or the Business Systems, those are great ones to go back and watch those trainings on. We do put all of the little playbooks in here. So for example, in this one, you go click on Notion, you'll have the prompts, the templates, everything that we share, we throw it on here. It's free. So please go take advantage of those resources. So if you're not in the group yet, please join. I did actually just put it in the chat as well if that button did not work for you. So you've got access to that group. And then let's see. Mark, great question. So the AI playbook, for those who don't know what that is, Mark, typically not, but I'll do for everybody on this call. If you are jumping into the AI mastery course, if you already have it, or you're thinking about getting it, I will add the playbook. So just send me an email. My email is growth@shoneyivens.com or team@shoneyivens.com. But this playbook, essentially it's 55 to 60 pages long. And it goes through, let me pull up the full book. This is going through building a couple custom AI assistants into your business, but then also putting together things like your brand playbook. If you want AI to talk like you when you're sending out messaging, emails, text messages, social media posts, things like that, you can customize AI to actually understand your language. So this is a pretty meaty playbook to go through. And so I will include that. If you have the AI Mastery course, just send me a text message or an email. We'll make sure that you have access to the playbook. So we will give that to you. What other questions? Any other questions as we're wrapping up? We've got maybe 9 more minutes to end out this session today. Or what?
I like Heather's questions here. She said, talking about streamlining, what are your top 3 AI tools that you would start with?
Love it. Let me pull up my tech stack. I should specify this is only my AI tech stack. I do use other tools. So this is what I call my minimum viable tech stack or toolkit within AI. So when it comes to productivity, the daily users are ChatGPT. I use Otter quite a bit because I'm in a lot of appointments. If you're doing a lot of client consultations, or if you're building a team and you're doing a lot of recruiting appointments, you'll want to use Otter AI. It is the most robust tool for documenting conversations. Claude, obviously, as you guys can see, that is my content creation, any kind of client facing resources like visuals, calculators, all of that stuff. Claude is my go-to for that. It is so good at coding and in building visual resources. And then Walt AI is on the lead generation side. That's who we brought in, Mike, last month to talk about a tool that actually looks at your contacts in your phone and it says who has the highest likelihood to make a move in your database. And the way it's doing that is it's looking at all the public information they can scrape. Their AI goes and scrapes it. So, for example, it's looking at their what's called digital exhaust. So what websites do they go to? If they're going to Zillow.com or Homes.com and all these websites consistently, it's telling a story, right? Why would they be going to those websites? Or if they are searching for a new car and they have a Honda Civic and they're upgrading it to a minivan, like why would somebody make that kind of transition? Well, usually because their family's grown and they need more seats in the car, right? So it's looking at all these things. If divorce records are filed at the are filed, always those are public. It looks for that information, or if they filed that they had a birth certificate, all these things, and it's finding that information and saying this person is a 9.8 or 8.9 on the move score. They're the highest likelihood to move because of all these things that are going on in their life, and it just serves those people up in your database, which is pretty cool. You then have Gamma and Midjourney. So I use Gamma for any kind of PDFs or slide content creation that I'm creating for clients. Midjourney for image generation. If you're building a lot of videos or images, you can also do now mini videos as well within that. And then Perplexity is my research tool, and Notion is my business organization, my second brain, essentially. So that's the tech stack. If I were to pick 3, it would be ChatGPT, Claude, and Perplexity. Like I would make it very simple, and I would say those 3 tools are going to be the most important because of how great they are at kind of all things, a catch-all. Whereas these other ones are very hyper specific on a use case, right? Like design, you should only get that if you do a lot of design, right? With Midjourney, or Notion is really if you want to supercharge the organization within your business. So these other ones are very context window specific on what their use cases are. So that's why I recommend ChatGPT, Claude, and Perplexity. All of them have free accounts to get started and just explore and see if they're useful for you. If you start saying, you know what, the one that I would say you need to be paying for is ChatGPT. If you're saying, hey, I only have $20 a month to spend, you need to be paying for the upgraded version. You basically have the most powerful tool in the world right now that are accessible by consumers for $20. And you do not know what you're missing if you're not paying for the $20 version. It's not just the limit of how many questions you can ask throughout the day, but the ability to build custom AI assistants or basically build employees is included at the upgraded plan. The ability to organize within projects, just so many different facets that you can use when you're on the paid plan. So that's the one that I would recommend paying for. Let's see. Any other questions before we wrap up today? Let me jump over to the chat.
Yeah. Well, I'll even answer. Taylor just asked about paying for Perplexity. I have not paid for it, and I use it all the time.
Yeah, I think Perplexity most people can actually get away with on the free plan. Personally, just because I obviously do this every month, I do have the pro plan. I do not think everybody needs it. I do a lot of deep research when I'm studying for things like this. And so I do want that ability with Perplexity, the free plan. You can do, I think, 2 or 3, or maybe up to 5. I can't remember. free pro or deep research per day. So most people are not going to run into that limit. Um, but you do have some additional flexibility on the pro version. So, yes, Patricia, thank you for pointing that out. And I think Jimmy also brought that to our attention. If you have a PayPal account, I think there's another platform. I can't remember, it was Visa or somebody else. You actually can get Perplexity Pro free for an entire year. And you can come in here to our AI driven network. I think search for Jimmy maybe, and here it is. Yep. So Jimmy posted this a couple weeks back. If you want Perplexity Pro for a year, thank you, Jimmy, for throwing this on there. You can actually go click on this link and you literally can get access for a year of the Pro plan for free. So go take advantage of that. Venmo. Thank you, Patricia. So Venmo or PayPal both gives it to you for free. So let me see. Answered that one. Specific email. I do use just one email. My primary personal email is the one that I use for all these platforms. So I do keep it all the same, Amy. Great question.
I actually reverted to that just this last week because it was driving me nuts that I had so many different random accounts connected to things. And so I went all to my personal email that connects everything. Adrian, I have both the apps on my computer and the web apps. Sometimes they do a little bit different things. So if you hear, oh, someone does something awesome, like that might just be on the web until it's on the browser. But I like having different windows open for things. I'm an ADD kind of guy. So if I have 100 tabs, I click through them. So I have to close things down all the time. It helps me to have like the actual app downloaded on my computer. I think that's way better.
My Gamma template for marketing listings. So just for clarity, so everybody knows, on Gamma, when you come in here, they already have what's called themes. So I don't need to share anything with you for the templates, because it's actually already standard within Gamma. They already have all these different options. You can go click through them. So once you build your visuals, you can say, okay, what color schemes do I want? What formatting? And you literally can just go pick your flavor of how you want it to look for the clients. And then what you can do is, once you pick your template that you like, you can just hit this customize. And that's where you're able to add in your logo, your fonts, your color scheme. So that way in the future, jump back here, in the future, you now will have these custom themes where it already has your logo in there. It already has your specific, still has the same color background, but all the other stuff is customized to you. And so that just makes it very easy to jump through and pick, whatever the themes are. So you can see, just brought my logo in here because that's a saved customized theme. So I don't have to share it with you. It's already there, ready to go for you. Gamma is free to start. So I just recommend, if you're not using it, go test it out. And then I think the paid plan, their starting paid plan is only $8 a month. It's a very cost efficient and affordable, and something that you guys can utilize. Awesome. Well, thank you all for jumping on today. The last thing I'm going to put out there is the registration for next month. And this should pop up on your screen right now. But the next month is going to be about AI goal setting, how to use AI to help you set your goals, build your business plan for 2026. And you're going to hit the ground running in December because you're going to be already focused on the things that you can control and start taking action on right away. Thank you all for jumping on today. We'll drop the recording of this and the Notion, kind of all the prompts and stuff. We did build an entire playbook for this as well. That will be in the school community. So you can go there to find the recording and the playbook to going ahead and starting to use AI in real estate investing. So thank you all for jumping on. Coach Cameron, thank you for joining us today and diving in with your wisdom of AI. Appreciate you. Have a great weekend, guys.